The Conservative Political Action Conference gathered over the weekend, and outspoken Republican Congressman Ron Paul won the CPAC straw poll with 31% of the vote. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney was second with 22%. He had a 3-year winning streak at the conference. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin finished third with 7%, and Tim Pawlenty, the Minnesota governor, and Indiana Representative Mike Pence finished at 5%. Here now with more, Representative Ron Paul, a member of the Financial Services and Joint Economic Committees. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Are you going to?
Thank you. Good to be with you.
You going to do this again? Do we know yet what your plans are for 2012?
No, you don't know, and I don't know, so I don't have any plans made. I take about one day at a time, and that keeps me pretty busy.
I guess when you get numbers like that, though, you see what your support is, at least among these people. I mean, are you leaning that towards doing it again?
No, I'm leaning to being undecided. But I think it is significant, and it does get me excited, and I was a bit surprised about it all because it is mostly the young people, and I do spend a lot of time on the college campuses. But I think it's a good indication that maybe the sentiments are changing because, as you know, I've talked a lot about the economic system and how the Federal Reserve in their efforts to central plan usually messes up the system, and they're very interested in this. They're interested in Austrian economics and the business cycle, which a lot of people don't give the college kids credit for. But the other thing is that I talk about a whole lot, and the Republicans don't want to hear about it, and that is a change in our foreign policy, that we can't maintain this foreign policy. And the young people are very interested in this, and they generally turn out at CPAC meetings, but I think there's definitely been a shift in attitude. It's not the conventional wisdom of the old Republican Party conservatism. I think something new is coming along.
Now, which part of our foreign policy? I know lately you've been talking about even what's happening with Greece, and somehow we might end up, are you worried we might end up bailing out Greece? Our taxpayers might end up bailing out Greece? Or are you talking about our what some people would say imperialistic moves on I don't know, Iraq is the one they usually bring up, I guess, or Afghanistan.
So, you know what? I don't think you can separate the two. I think the monetary policy and the foreign policy is very intertwined. Recently, I said, as an argument for auditing the Fed, is to know exactly what we're doing behind the scenes in the negotiations to bail out Greece. And I think there's a concerted effort to prop up the dollar so the dollar can bail out everybody. Nobody wants to attack the dollar because as long as the dollar is the reserve standard and we're willing to bail out everybody, I think other countries are going to do what they can to protect the dollar. So if they need us to bail out Greece, let me tell you, we buy up all other bad assets. We might as well buy up theirs. And under the law, believe it or not, they're allowed to. But I also, that's part of the Federal Reserve part. But the part of the foreign policy the young people don't like are the perpetual wars. War after war after war, and draining us $1 trillion a year to finance our empire and being in 140 countries and have 700 bases. That can't be sustained. That's what always brings empires down to their knees. It's the financial problems, and we're in a financial mess. And everybody talks about cutting in Washington, but nobody admits that this country's bankrupt. But they're still spending. The worse the problems get, the more they spend, and the bigger the debt gets. And this can't last. And I think the handwriting's on the wall, and I think the young people perceive this a lot better than some of those who are blinded by the conventional wisdom of Washington.
Congressman, Senator Dodd is apparently going to provide a proposal this week on regulatory procedures, and among one of the things to be proposed is a regulatory commission to oversee and monitor some of the risks that occur in this country. And apparently he wants to vest the authority for this regulatory commission in the Treasury as opposed to the Fed. How do you feel about that?
I don't like that. Matter of fact, I believe in regulation, strong regulation by the marketplace. That is, when you don't provide a service or you get in over your head, you go bankrupt and you go to the bankruptcy courts and you live up to your contracts. But government regulations never work. All they do is sort of are biased toward one group versus the other. So the fact that they mess up an economy, there's so much malinvestment and debt created and orchestrated by the Fed to come in and think, well, we're going to prevent all all these problems and correct the problem by just having more regulators. That just compounds our problems. So whether it's the Treasury or the Federal Reserve or whomever, I don't believe that's the answer. The answer is to allow the market to work and get back to market interest rates, let people make wise decisions. Business people and savers can't make decisions when the interest rates are fixed. The price of money, the interest rates, is so crucial, and yet we believe, too many of us believe, that the government should set interest rates, and this is the gross distortion. So regulations can't compensate for all these mistakes that the Federal Reserve generates and inserts into the economy.
So, Congressman, what would you have done when this crash came along? If you'd been in charge, would you have bailed out the economy, or how would you have solved the immediate problem that we were confronted with a year and a half ago?
Well, I would have treated it like 1920, 21. That depression lasted a year, and the GDP went down about 16% in 1 year. It was a bad year, but nobody even remembers it. The only active thing I would do would be to make sure taxes went down and spending would go down. I would, you could have saved money compared to what they did on the bailout by just suspending the income tax for 3 or 4 years and let the people decide how the money should be spent, not buying up bad assets and propping up a flawed system, and the system is still propped up. All we did was we changed the victims. Instead of the people suffering who did all the speculating and did all the bad investment, we shifted those bad assets and all these derivatives over to the taxpayer. And that problem has not been solved yet. The commercial property crisis has not really hit yet, and we have not allowed the corrections. Corrections are good, and yet we have done everything conceivable to prevent the correction by doing the very things that created our problem. Spend more money, run up more debt, print more money, regulate more. It won't work.
Congressman, how do we know when there's a cause worth actually engaging in, something like a World War II? That costs a lot of money too. Who knows with Iran what's finally going to happen? I mean, how do you know for sure that no engagement is the right policy here?
No, I don't think I've said no engagement.
Okay,
I love the engagement.
Right, but which wars are okay?
The ones that are declared.
Oh.
When the Congress would do it properly. I mean, we have perpetual war at the discretion of the president. But, when I was in high school, we were at war with China, and yet now we're trading partners with China. So I want to be very much engaged. I want to get rid of tariffs. I want to trade. I want to travel. I just don't want to confront. I don't want to be militaristic. I don't want to waste money. I don't want other people to tell other people what to do. I don't want to be a nation building. I don't want to be the policeman of the world. But I want to be very engaged. And right now, the chances of us going to war with China are slim to none. Right. I mean, our naval vessels are going into the Chinese ports. And now we're traders, and they were bad people and still have weird ideas, but they're getting more militaristic. But we're not going to fight China here anywhere soon, and so I don't want to go out looking for a war. Why should we be looking for a war with the Iranians? I mean, what have they done to us? What are they capable of doing to us? I mean, it's just absurd to
weapons potentially.
No.